Good afternoon. Um, it's going to be an interesting collection. We're kind of each hitting different notes. I would like to speak specifically today about the role of urban design in the future of urbanism and how we might get to just cities, or what that urban design practice might look like. So let's see. So what do I point to? This? Sorry. Whenever I'm asked to speak about a topic or think about speaking about a topic, I go first to the dictionary. So I looked up just. Based on or behaving according to what is morally right and fair, a just and democratic society, for instance, or fighting for a just cause. I thought that was apropos for our thinking about a just city. It also puts us in the context of an ethical question, or causes us to think about ethics. And this is a quote from Craig Wilkins, whom I think many of you know, from his book on the aesthetics of equity. Theory without practice has no value. Practice without theory has no purpose. And either without responsibility has no place in architecture, and a lot of other things, I would say. I propose to you that there is some correlation between our thinking about equitable and just cities and places and sustainable places, and I'm going to kind of leave that question for the end. I hope we'll discuss it in our panel. But in the meantime, I'll just lay down some basics. Like I said, I like to go to the dictionary, and here's a definition of urban design, which I found on the web, but I like it. Okay, it highlights the complexity and potential of urban design, linking placemaking, economic vitality, environmental responsibility with social equity, and I think it's useful for our thoughts today. Traditionally, and also today, we think about urban design like this. Mixed-use, compact development is, a best practice. We also see it as a very complete design, where everything is thought about: the streetscape, the landscape, signage, buildings, the mix of program, street furniture, street uses, sidewalk, cafes, and things like that. This happens to be this big infill project in Los Angeles, Playa Vista. It's taken about 15 years to unfold, I think. And on the extreme end of this contemporary and traditional condition of urban design, we see the Americana at Brand, which is one of these super town centers, if you will, a totally self-contained and built at once neighborhood of residential, retail, and entertainment uses with its own public space, or apparently public space in the middle, that has everything: a water feature, perfect landscape, even monuments, and a playground, all for instant vitality in a place that, as I said, appears to be public, but is everything but public. In fact, I was told that there were only certain things I could take pictures of. And I think that for some reason the retail was not one of them, and the residential parts. So, but they didn't tell me not to take pictures of the playground. So how might this practice of urban design, or how might our notions of it, be transformed or modified when we're thinking about just cities? For one, I think urban design for just cities creates public spaces that accommodate and welcome a broad range of uses and users from a range of backgrounds and interests. It provides housing options for a variety of household types and income levels, just as Jonathan suggested, and I think Teddy too. It links people to jobs, goods and services, and community spaces with public transit and walkable, bikeable streets. It guarantees access to clean air, to clean water, to healthy food, to recreation, to open space, and to nature. It promotes social, economic, and environmental sustainability and equity. So what would that look like? Design of that public space would be distributed equitably and provide equitable access. It would be flexible. There would be lots of different types. It would be clean and safe. It would allow for appropriation and customization by different users and at different times. It invites interpretation and improvisation. And this example is actually, I think it's Copenhagen, but you see where the sidewalk is extended with plywood for sidewalk dining. Here are some more conventional ways that that may realize itself. This is public space along, an important feature, whether it's the river in Pisa or the ocean in Manhattan Beach, California, where that edge is made public space, so it democratizes the visual and physical access to that asset and that resource. We see this, marvelously in Millennium Park in Chicago. You see, I was there on the absolute perfect day last summer. But what I really appreciated that was the mix of people. That's one thing that cities have to offer that suburbs and smaller places don't have to offer. And everyone is invited to go swimming in this particular pool. I was afraid that somebody might, rush them off for fear of lawsuits and things like that, but not the case. This is an example of having access and use of these public spaces, one in Copenhagen on the left and the other in Berlin on a temporary basis where we're just occupying the street. You see no traffic on the left, and you see vendors on the right. We have appropriation, both in Cincinnati and in Havana, where vendors, sometimes they are the farmers, but usually not, that are there just temporarily. They have to be completely absent by night. They don't own this space, but the infrastructure that's built to support them gives all of us some kind of assurance or confidence that they'll be there tomorrow. Customization is shown here on the left. This is actually Barrio Chino in Havana. I didn't know there was a Chinatown in Havana, but there is. And it's one area that has much more freedom of expression, of ownership, and other things than other parts of Cuba, in fact. And on the right is a project I was involved in South Central LA, where this was kind of a treasured community mural, and the building on which it sat originally was being torn down, and we made space for it in this mixed-use affordable housing project. Again, appropriation and improvisation, both in the main square in Siena. Many of you are familiar with the Palio, the annual Palio. I got there like 2 days after. All of the dirt was gone. It gets temporarily completely filled with dirt for this horse race. And a couple days later, all of the dirt, the horses, and all of their waste is gone. And it goes back to its daily use, but then periodically, maybe twice a day, the winning neighborhood parades around, occupying all of the public spaces of Siena and really temporarily changing them. Another case, this is my last slide, of appropriation and improvisation. This is Callejón de Hamel in Havana, which it's an alley. And it was completely transformed over time and incrementally by an artist who lives on the other side of the alley. And luckily wasn't forced to stop. It wasn't painted over, et cetera. And it's now the location of regular kind of street festivals and celebrations with music and art and dance, which brings me to my point, is that one of the most important roles we can play in urban design for this just city is paying lots of attention to public space, but resisting the temptation to completely design. Requires both restraint and inclusion, and probably collaboration with people who know their neighborhoods best. It means planning for the unplanned, because unplanned, the informal, is essential to the vitality and equity of urbanism and urban places now and in the future. Thank you.